I don't have these set rules that I think, oh, the photography has to be like this. I honestly don't care. Like, I think people can do whatever they want. I mean, photography is not a sport with a referee and rules. Like,
Welcome back, everybody, to a new episode of Eyeshot 50mm. And this time we're sitting down with Aaron Berger, very iconic as well, street photographer, known for his focus on natural gestures and, if we could say, many dramatical scenes of everyday life with a strong focus on color. So, welcome, Aaron, and thank you for being with us.
thank you. Wow, what an intro. I don't know about iconic, but I'll take it. Thank you
I
very
mean,
much.
very well known, I guess, if
Yeah.
that's better.
Thank you.
Thank you, Aaron, for being with us. And I would like to leave a small message to all of our viewers to keep liking, keep subscribing, keep commenting, because what's just one small click to you means the world for us. And by supporting us, you're not only supporting iShot, you are supporting independent publishing, independent made in Italy arts and craftsmanship, and most importantly, independent street photography. And thank you again, Aaron, for being
Thank
with
you.
us, and welcome to iShot
Thank you.
50
Thank you. Thank you.
millimeters.
Buongiorno. I don't know how to speak Italian, but
Oh, that's
Yeah.
cute, actually. We can take that. We
Yeah,
can definitely take
absolutely.
that. And we are on one to start. We usually start with one of the most toughest questions we always ask, which is, who is Aaron Berger according to Aaron Berger?
wow. At this moment, the first thing, a dad, a husband, a very obsessive person with all of his interests and hobbies, and a happy guy. Uh, I think I don't. That feels about right. Somewhere in there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I can see that. I can definitely see that. And when did your interest in photography started? And was there any event in your life that made you switch from your normal path to something more artistic? Can you tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah. It actually started a long time. Well, not a long time. I don't know. Maybe 15 years ago here in Thailand, where I'm living now. I I was living here and I was actually playing poker on the internet to make a living and to travel. And I was maybe 20 years old and I started to get bored with that. I don't know. It wasn't I wasn't as interested in it as I once was. And I was getting inspired by the rise of YouTube. I was seeing all these YouTube channels, people doing funny things on YouTube. And so I bought a camera I thought I wanted to make YouTube videos. But as soon as I bought the camera, for some reason, the first thing I did was I just started going outside and taking pictures of people. And I didn't know what street photography was. I had no idea. But I just thought I wanted to figure out how the camera works. And it came so naturally right away, just like going to the market or any busy street and just taking pictures of people. And I knew it was a bit strange because you're not supposed to do that. But I just was very drawn to it. Fast forward a few years, I left Thailand. I went back home to Los Angeles. And again, I thought I wanted to do something with filmmaking or cinematography or something like that. I was trying out all kinds of things with the camera, but I was always going out for a walk and taking pictures of people as well. I always just thought that that was something really interesting. And then at some point, I realized that that was what I really wanted to do. And I ended up in New York. And once I got to New York was when it really, really started. I thought, okay, I'm just going to walk around New York as much as possible and take pictures all day long. And this is it. I'm going to somehow turn this into my job. It happened naturally. I just was drawn to it really naturally, honestly. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, cool. And we know you've traveled the world. You've been to Los Angeles, you've been to Thailand, you've been different places, New York, as you were mentioning right now. One thing we always ask our photographers, which we find very interesting, is do you think your background, your geographical background, the place where you come from, has shaped somehow your vision, your photographic vision, or the way you see the world? And if so, in what ways?
Think for sure it has to. It has to. Even in ways I'm not aware of, it must. But one that's obvious to me, particularly with New York, always growing up in suburbs of Los Angeles, I always looked at New York as this like magical place, like the center of the world. Everything is happening in New York City, and the you have this imagery of hustle and bustle and yellow taxis and people walking on the street. And I always knew that somehow I wanted to live in New York one day. And I think when I got there with the camera and I was into photography, for me, it was very much about New York. It was about my idea of New York, which comes from my being an American that, I don't know, kind of looks up to New York. And I think the way I photographed in New York was very much driven by that, by me wanting to show how crazy and unique New York is, something like that. And then that also ended up shaping just the way I take pictures, like getting very used to taking pictures on crowded sidewalks and a lot of movement and things like that.
Okay, because you're also self-taught, so
Hmm.
you learned everything yourself. So how do you think instead being a self-taught photographer has, if so, shaped your way of approaching the streets or approaching subjects in some ways?
It's made me feel like there's not as many rules to it, I think. I'm not that concerned if it's perfectly in focus or perfectly exposed. Or when I was shooting film and I when I first started shooting film, I was developing it myself at home, and I would make a lot of mistakes. The colors would be off, there would be thumbprints, and I kind of if the picture was if I liked the picture, I didn't really care. I kind of just let it go. And I think that maybe wouldn't have been okay in a more like academic environment.
Fair.
I don't know. I never was in an academic environment, but
Yeah.
like, yeah, kind of just made my own rules and and didn't. Oh, and another obvious thing was that I never felt like a need to go take pictures that were telling some sort of story that could be easily written about, some sort of clear message about the world or anything in particular really. I kind of felt free to just go walk around and take pictures. And that might also be kind of a self-taught kind of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Very, very interesting, actually. And what are your thoughts on inspirations? Like, do you feel you have fixed inspiration that have inspired you rather than a academic path, if you want to call it like that? What were your icons and maybe also your more contemporary inspirations, if you could share it with us?
When I first started, I truly did not know anything about photography. I could not name one photographer. So I had no inspirations when I first started. But pretty quickly, because I was doing street photography and I was in New York, I started discovering famous New York street photographers. The one that really stood out to me, it's like a cliche. It's like every male street photographer in New York City's favorite photographer, Garry Winogrand, was like the big one for me. His work and finding documentaries about him and the way that he talked about photography, that really resonated with me at the time for at least a few years. And then all the other ones too. There's Mermelstein and Meyerowitz and Helen Levitt, and I also really liked some photographers that do something completely different than me. I liked a Japanese photographer named Daido Maruyama a lot because it felt very spontaneous and crazy, and even though it was nothing like what I was doing, it just kind
Yeah,
of excited me to look at it.
yeah,
But I have to admit, I am not a really educated person on photography. I don't know that many photographers like deeply. I haven't yeah, I'm not very well versed in a lot of great photography and great photographers. But I do feel very connected to the contemporaries that were around me when I was taking pictures for hours every day. I felt really aware of what other people were doing, and I felt like I was absorbing all of it. But I don't know that much about like legendary photographers. I should know more, to be honest.
No, but I feel like that's interesting though, like people usually say to always get inspired by others, but I guess you
Mm.
find your inspirations in the streets. So
Yeah, I did.
honestly, it's a great, great way of seeing it. So thank you for sharing that.
Abs-
I will pass it on
yeah,
then to you.
absolutely. I would like to talk about your career development, so to
Uh,
speak. And so you started as self-taught, but at one point you started meeting the pros, the masters,
yes,
the contemporary masters. What changed in your approach when you started getting feedback even from pros?
great question. That's a great question. I definitely, well, just like generally, I felt some pressure to just be better, just take better pictures. But more specifically, hmm, I felt more inspired by my contemporaries to take pictures that felt like they were about either people or about me in some way, rather than just being a kind of pretty to look at with perfect geometry and light and color. I felt more, or perfect composition. I felt more inspiration. It wasn't pressure, but I felt in seeing what they did, I felt more inspired to, as best I could, try to do something that felt like it had more content, more drama in it, more, maybe even more vulnerability in some way, rather than always taking a perfect picture every time, which was challenging for me because a big part of the photography that I like is to try and take a perfect picture that's like perfectly organized. And I felt inspired to like push against my instinct to do that, to be a little bit more loose and to take pictures of subject matter that were maybe a little like a little bit more heavy or dramatic in some way. I think they inspired me to do that.
Okay, thank you. Speaking on the relationship with the pros, was
Yeah.
there specific feedback that you've gotten that inspired you to make specific changes in your technique, in what you how you look at the streets, basically?
I don't know so much, but I would say I got specific feedback to kind of just be more confident in what I was doing. It was really uplifting when people that I had so much respect for would seem to like very sincerely tell me like your pictures are really good. And that was maybe the best feedback that I needed because I've always been a very like strict kind of editor. Like I have I want the pictures to be really good to the point that it sometimes prevents me from sharing them or prevents me from thinking that a picture is good. And I think I did get very helpful feedback and kind of just being more confident, just kind of believing in what I'm doing a bit more, and that really helped at times. But not so specific, like I don't know, you need to change your lens or anything like that. Not so much.
Okay. And how hard is it for someone who starts as self-taught to build a professional network without specific academic background in photography? And what advice would you give to a self-taught photographer who wants to start building that kind of professional network?
Yeah, I think for the work that I did, it didn't seem to matter that much. The editorial work, especially in New York, there's a lot of it. There's a lot of work for magazines or newspapers where they kind of ask you to just go out to the protest or go out to the parade and kind of just do what you do. Just take the pictures the way you always do. And for that, it didn't seem to matter much that I had no academic background. But there's no doubt that if you want to be a professional, your network, your relationships, your management of your relationships really matters. And I did not have one. I was lucky to meet certain people and become good friends. And it really, for me, I think it really came from them noticing that I was on the street every day, really dedicating so much of myself to it. And they respected it, and they kind of wanted to help me. They wanted to recommend me to editors that they knew or whatever. Not so much because I mingled with them or sent emails or anything like that, but they just kind of they saw me on the street every day and just kind of started to get to know me that way. So my advice, I do believe if you do something every day with a lot of intensity and you share it with people, you will gain some momentum. People will be they'll have some base level of respect for it or interest in it, and maybe you can build something from there.
Okay, that's very solid advice. So,
Mhm.
following up from this, if you had to look for new, fresh talent, where would you look? Like on the streets or events?
For me, I mean, well, when you see people on the streets every day, I'm sure it's the same in Rome, right? You guys are in Rome.
No, we're in Bologna, but I've just been to Rome and I've seen lots of people with their
Yeah,
cameras
yeah. Like
strapped.
in any big city with crowded sidewalks, if you're in the photography world and you're out on the streets taking pictures every day, you will know who else is out taking pictures every single day. And that is for sure one way to see who's really doing it. And the other way, the way like of my generation was just Instagram, to be honest. I mean, you're on Instagram, you're following other photographers, and other photographers are getting recommended to you, and you're in that world and you see photography that you like, and it's easy to connect with people. So those were the two ways for me to find new photographers that I like.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Okay, just a couple more questions for this section before I pass the ball back to Lou. And I've been meaning to ask, what's the hardest part about being a judge or a curator for contests or other projects where you have to make a selection or even exclude some works in favor of other works? So what's the hardest part about that?
The hardest part is finding a balance between good pictures, pictures that are good in some obvious way. You know, there's a subject, there's composition, the picture works visually. It's something that an audience would like to look at, or something that my audience would like to look at, versus pictures that feel not so obvious, like pictures that feel more personal. They feel they're maybe not the best pictures, but they, in their own way, they can be more interesting than just a whole bunch of good pictures in a row. For me, this is really hard. I try to include pictures that aren't so obvious, but I keep struggling with, I also want the pictures to be very good. I guess it's something about vulnerability, showing pictures in your archive that are, for some reason, they're personal to you, they stand out to you, but you know that they're not maybe as good as the other ones for an audience of everybody, but you want to show them anyway because they're yours. And trying to find the balance between, yeah, the good pictures and the more personal ones, I guess.
Yeah, there's that emotional attachment that sometimes
Yeah,
yourself cannot detach from it. So yeah,
yeah.
totally fair. Yeah.
Yeah. And speaking of balance, actually, because I'm very glad you used that word because my next and last question for the section was, how do you regulate the balance between commissions, workshops, and something you want to do for yourself? So your truly personal project. How do you navigate the balance in that?
I think during my period of time where I was in that world, the personal project was just every day, no matter what. That's like the background. Like every day you go out and take pictures. And then on the days that you're working, that you have a commission or a workshop, you focus on that, but you still are taking pictures in your style. Even during a workshop or during a commission, I'm still trying to take my pictures. So it feels like the personal project was every day. It just never stopped. And the work was like the trick was to get work that still is your personal project, like that fits your personal style. The most challenging thing for me was always the networking aspect of it, the reaching out to people and just staying really on top of communication and relationships and emails and everything like that. I found that to take a lot of energy and a lot of intention. You have to really go after things, you know? And I think for someone that just wants to take pictures all day, that's always going to be the challenge. Is like how much of your time and energy can you give to being really intentional with getting your face out there and meeting the people you need to meet and maintaining those relationships. That's the thing that I would recommend doing and working on, even if you don't want to, because you eventually you have to.
Yeah, of course. It's fair. Okay, thank
Totally
you.
fair. I want to stay still a bit on the topic of photography style, street photography in your case. And my question would be, your work is almost all in color,
Yeah.
almost most of it. How do you think color is your way of expressing photography, street photography in that sense, rather than black and white? Why did you choose, let's say, color more rather than
Yeah.
black and white? What does it give it to you?
I never really knew the answer to this one. I always loved black and white photography as a viewer. I love a lot of photographers that shoot in black and white. But for whatever reason, whenever I shot in black and white, it just felt like it was missing the color. And I don't know why, but just in my own pictures, I, it felt like they had to be color. And I don't have a good reason. It just felt like they had to be. I just the black and white pictures that I took didn't feel like my pictures. And it's a bit funny because I'm not someone that like sees a red. Well, I do like the color red, but I don't really seek out like blazing colors so much. Like when I'm walking down the sidewalk and just taking a million pictures of everybody, I'm not really thinking about color. So it almost makes it like an added bonus when you get a picture and then the color works as well. And you weren't even really, that wasn't even the point, but it ends up being this extra kind of gift. And I think I just really enjoyed that.
That's fair. That's fair.
Yeah.
Color, black and white has its fascination, but also color can definitely give something stronger to the scene. And speaking of scenes and compositions, what is then your decisive moment?
Do I do think, oh, there's something so satisfying about that when you can organize chaos. I really like movement. I like being with a lot of moving parts. And there is something just so kind of exhilarating about trying to organize it perfectly to make some sense of everything all at once. And so I would just try to do it over and over and over again. And if you keep practicing that action over and over, you see so many moving people and things, and you just instinctively try to organize it in the frame, you inevitably get a little bit lucky sometimes. And those are the those are the ones where it seems impossible. It's like, how could he have possibly uh intended intended for that to line up with that, and this is happening in the back, and the answer is of course I didn't. I just made a split second judgment to try to organize all the moving parts, and then you get the picture back and you see that, oh my God, there was this other thing happening in the back. I didn't even know. So it's very fun when luck and technique kind of blend together, and it makes something much better than I could have ever actually meant to do.
Okay, interesting. Very interesting. Still staying on the topic of style and compositions and colors, this production in the in the photography community, but also specifically in the street community, it's a hot topic, if we can say it
Yes,
like that.
yes, it's a
What
hot
is
topic. Yeah.
your what is your level of post production? Do you try to keep your photo as raw as possible, or how do you approach in general post production?
I simply prefer it. I don't have these set rules that I think, oh, the photography has to be like this. I honestly don't care. Like, I think people can do whatever they want. I mean, photography is not a sport with a referee and rules. But for me personally, I just prefer when the picture looks pretty close to what I saw in person. For me, that's the idea. That's just what's fun for me. So my post production is pretty minimal. When I was shooting film, it was very little at all because I love the way that film looks. Just the colors on film just look so nice to me. So I hardly did anything. Maybe just adjust the contrast a little bit and the sharpness, and that's it. In digital, I try to do a little bit more to help it look more like film, just because I like the way that looks. But I don't do a lot. I don't do much stylistically. I don't think. I try to just the basics like contrast, exposure, sharpness. Just try to make the picture look how it looked to me in real life, and that's about it.
Okay. Okay. You keep mentioning analog photography as well, digital photography, and I have a couple of questions on this. And the first one would be, how did you make the switch toward digital? Did something happen that made you feel like, okay, I want to try more with the digital because the analog has its own way of doing photography from the idea to the, of course, the final product that you have to develop yourself. But it's a completely, for me, set of gears in that sense. And my second question would also be, so shoot both in one. What do
Okay.
you miss from analog that you cannot find digital or other way around? Could you elaborate on
Yeah. I I started switching to digital when honestly I was not having the same inspiration to to do photography with the same intensity that I was doing it. I wasn't waking up in the morning and just immediately going outside and walking around all day long. I was starting to slow down a little bit with photography. And little by little, I mean, eventually I slowed down a lot during some periods. And I just found that shooting film created an extra barrier for me to go outside and take pictures because I would think to myself, oh, I need to develop it. I need to scan it. And oh my, it's so time consuming and
yeah,
expensive.
that's
And
for sure,
yeah, especially like it kept getting more and more.
especially for that.
And whereas if I just take this little digital camera out, I can just go out and do it today and take the pictures and I'll have them. And so for the days that I was struggling with motivation or just kind of feeling down on photography, like, digital just made it easier to get back into it, to go outside and to take pictures. And eventually it just kind of stuck. But to this day, I still think that film looks better. I really do. So I miss the way film looks. That's the main thing. And there is something satisfying too about having like the film in your pocket and the whole experience of
Hmm.
loading it and hearing the click and all. It's just like it's more visceral, it's more physical. So I kind of miss all of that. I don't think I'm necessarily going to shoot digital forever. I might shoot film again, but for now it just makes it easier for me to photograph more often.
Yeah, that's totally fair. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. Thank you. Okay, pass it to you.
I would like to be on the topic of, recurring themes.
Oh
because
yeah.
there's a very interesting definition that you gave, which is micro dramas. What are those to you, and what do you like about them?
Micro dramas. Uh, like every little revealing of emotion in public has some sort of drama to it that you can relate to. You know, you take a picture of someone on the street who looks stressed, and then you feel like on a day that you're stressed, you might look at that picture and be like, "That's me. That's a self-portrait." And so that's my that's my favorite thing about it is like when people look happy or sad or melancholy or stressed or they're laughing or whatever, I think I can relate to it. It makes me feel like a part of everything. I think that's a part of what I love about walking around the street and taking pictures is that it's a way of feeling a part of the hustle and bustle and all the people moving. You feel a part of it. You get to relate to it, but you don't have to actually participate. You don't have to actually talk to anybody. You can be like I tend to be a more introverted person, and so I get to just be quiet and I don't have to socialize, but I get to feel like I'm in the middle of everything, like I'm a part of everything. So that's what I really like about the little dramatic moments.
Yeah. I have one specific picture in mind when you talk about feeling the mood. And there's this picture of the guy yelling in the middle of the street
Yeah.
that I said that he was a total mood
Total
in
mood.
in the moment that I saw the picture.
Yeah.
So yeah, I get what you're saying. But when does a passerby become a
Hmm.
protagonist to you?
Ooh. Wow. I was on my first instinct is they all are. Like every passerby can be a protagonist. I'm very optimistic as a photographer. Like I will take so many pictures of people just walking down the street doing nothing. And they are boring pictures, but in my they really are. But in my experience, you just don't know. Like the subtle glance on someone's face and what might be happening in the background. I feel like there's very, very often the potential for a picture when someone is passing by. I really do. So almost everybody can be a protagonist if, I don't know, if they have any kind of look on their face and if anything's happening in the background. Like the only people that maybe it's harder to make them protagonists is if their head is down and they're looking at their phone. Like that
Yeah.
kind of thing is less photographic. But yeah, I feel like there's pictures everywhere when it comes to people passing by on the sidewalk.
Okay. And I was thinking, I've been meaning to ask, since New York is very diverse, specifically New York, because we're talking about, mostly New York street photography, metropolitan street photography, and bigger cities are very diverse. And how does one represent that diversity without falling or leaning on aesthetic cliches? Because
Yeah.
sometimes something that is commonly associated with a culture is also visually appealing to someone who isn't from that culture. So, how does
Yes.
one navigate that?
Oh, that's a great question. Yeah, I agree with that, by the way. When you aren't a part of a culture, you're an outsider to it. And then whenever you see it being displayed to you, it might seem like this is such an interesting picture. But to people who are a part of that culture, to them it's just normal. And it kind of reveals your outsiderness, your ignorance. And then that's not always so interesting. Like your ignorance is not uh, very interesting to the audience. So, well, but honestly, when I deal with it more when I'm editing, I think when I walk around and take pictures, I guess the way I deal with it is I just take pictures of everyone. I just take pictures of almost everybody, and that kind of automatically ends up being representing. at least in New York. I feel like I took pictures of all kinds of New Yorkers, and I would just sometimes consider when selecting pictures, when editing, if if this picture is only interesting to me or if this is really worth sharing. And I also noticed increasingly after more and more years of photography, I started to feel more inclined to not want to show anybody of any culture in a way that is unflattering. I felt less interested in, like, in the beginning of my photography, if I saw someone putting food in their mouth or like looking kind of strange or like not very flattering in that moment, I think I was more drawn to those pictures because it was like a sense of humor. It was kind of funny. It felt voyeuristic. It felt kind of edgy. But over time, I started to get less interested in that. And then right now, I'm at a place where I really would prefer, I mean, not every picture will, but I would prefer for pictures to have some beauty about them, to show something in a good light. Even if there's some sadness in it, I would prefer the picture to somehow uplift it to be kind of beautiful. I don't think I'm really into pictures that are like are very unflattering to anyone. It's a long answer, but somewhere in there is how I dealt with it over time.
But even if your photos have moved on to be more somber in a way, more drawn to the beautiful aspect of a scene, there's still lots of interest from what I've seen in childhood and
Yeah.
play. So what is it about those themes that draws you in, that kind of joy that you want to represent?
Yeah. I noticed that too. It was never intentional, but I always took a lot of pictures of families. Like when I see a family on a sidewalk, you see mom, dad, and the kids, and they're all tangled up and they're navigating the busy street. I just always wanted to take that picture. I don't really know why. I It just stands out to me in the street. It creates some like subject that pops out of everything else. Matching people does this too. Like when people are kind of matching, like it creates some visual order where these two or three or four people, because they're in a group and they have their own world, they stand out from all the other passerby. They create their own world where if you take a picture of them, it doesn't feel like you're just taking pictures of people randomly walking down the street. It feels like you're taking a picture of, you're doing like a family portrait, but it's on, and so, yeah, it always stood out to me as being a little bit more dramatic and a little bit more interesting than most people walking down the street.
Is there a photo from this kind of roster of photos that you have in mind that you are particularly attached to because of the context you have taken a picture in?
Yeah, I think so. I think like particularly the pictures of families and children or
Yeah, just because we were on topic, but if there's another picture you are very attached to because of its story, we would love to
uh
hear about it.
I don't know if I would phrase it like that, but there's certain pictures that I really like them more than most of the other pictures. And I know that, and I kind of always think of them or look to them. Um, there's a picture of a boy, and I'm pretty sure it's his dad, and his dad is in a wheelchair. Uh, it was early in the morning, and it has really nice light, and there's things going on in the background. And I got lucky with a light flare on the lens, and that one that one just really works for me. I think that picture kind of it's just what I like. It has some quiet about it in the moment between the boy and his dad, but it also has a lot of loud chaos going on. And it's not a super obvious moment. It doesn't have like someone wearing a pink crazy outfit or screaming. It's just kind of this like subtle, quiet moment, but it stands out to me. And I think those are the pictures that I tend to like the most. So something like that.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing. Okay, last one for me for this section. And just an easy one. What's the hardest thing to achieve in street photography?
Probably coming out of street photography with your own sort of world, your own voice. I want to say world building. It's hard, I think, because we don't have the tools of narrative the way that other photography does, right? We typically don't photograph the same people over a period of time and tell their story, and we just walk around and take pictures of passersby. And I think it's very challenging to come out of that with a world that is unique to you and with a voice that is unique to you, where people can look at your pictures and go, "Oh, that's their picture," and uh, and even get it to a point where not every picture has to be a great street photo because you've built your own unique little world that you take pictures of on the street that stands out to people. I think that's very challenging.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for sharing.
I want to just jump in on
Yeah.
your answer and what you just said. And I wanted to ask you because there is this, sometimes there is this stigma, if we want to call it like that, that documentary photography is not the only, but the main way of narrating or telling a story. Do you think street photography can do the same thing or close in a way to documentary photography? Do you think street photography can be a narrative way of saying things?
Yeah, yeah, I know. This is always the big criticism of street photography, right? This is like a lot of people, have negative things to say. I think it is possible. I see some people do it. I think particularly if you're focusing on a particular place for an extended period of time, you do inevitably end up photographing the change over time of that place or what happens in that place. Right off the top of my head, I'm thinking about um, a book I saw. I don't know the photographer's name, and I should. He was in New York, and he went to the same street corner in front of Grand Central Station every single morning, and he photographed commuters, people going to work. And he ended up getting many, many, many pictures of the same person over years because the same people have the same work schedules. They get off the train at the same time every day. They go to work at the same time every day. So he would photograph a lot of the same people every day, and he put this book together, which I think maybe doesn't tell a story, but it's a very deep portrait of what it's like to wake up at the same time every day and go to work the same way every day and be holding the same coffee every single day. It's a very deep look at that. It's deeper than what most street photography does. So I don't know if it's like a narrative documentary, but you could do that kind of thing. And if you photograph the same neighborhood for 20 years, you're going to end up with some story about that neighborhood, I think. So I think it's possible. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Thank you. Thank you. I want to change a little bit gears and I wanted to go on the community uh, topic in a way because you're part of Up Photographers as a collective. And I want to know a little bit more about this. In fact, my first question would be what personal or professional value do you find in being within a photography collective?
For me, that kind of thing, it's about inspiration. It's inspiring. You get to meet other photographers. It gives you an excuse to meet other photographers in person that you would never meet otherwise, and to be around them and to feed off their energy. And it's motivating, and it can be really inspiring to be part of a group like that. I I haven't like tried to use it to get a lot of work or commercial opportunity. but I know it can be helpful in that way because you can get more of a presence on social media and stuff when a lot of notable people come together. I know, but for me, it's mostly about feeling inspired and motivated by other photographers.
Okay. Okay. And how do you keep your personal voice sharp, or how do you balance your individual voice with the, if I can say that, the identity of the collective?
I never give it much thought. I have to be honest. I don't really worry about if my voice aligns with. I mean, I think if they ask you to join, they must think that your voice kind of fits. So I never worried about it.
No, that's totally fair. I was just wondering because collective, especially in street photography, is something that I've been seeing something powerful in a way. So just wondering this. My next question on this would also be: do you think like being part of a collective as and the audience this collective brought with it has shaped your way of approaching photography, or the feedbacks received by the community, by the collective, have in some way influenced your vision, your photographic vision?
Some of the feedback has again just motivated me to take better pictures, really, just to hold myself to a higher standard. Because some of the people that I connected with in that collective are very good photographers who I respect, who are older than me, and they would look at my pictures and kind of say like, "You can do better than that. Like this one's okay, but the background's not right. You know that this picture isn't as good as your other pictures. You don't need to include it." That kind of thing.
Okay.
I think that did help me to hold myself to a higher standard sometimes. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Cool. I guess we can switch a little bit to
Yeah,
the book.
absolutely.
Talk a little bit about the book.
Yeah, just a couple questions
Yeah.
each. So we're talking about Same Time Tomorrow, your upcoming book with Eyeshot, which is basically a street photography feast for the eye. So yeah,
Okay.
it's 100% street.
Yeah.
It
So
is,
very,
yeah.
very aligned with Eyeshot's mood.
Yeah.
And I'm curious, where did the original concept for Same Time Tomorrow start on your part? So, where did it start on your part?
I think for me, it started when I moved to New York and I started taking pictures every day. I didn't know that I was working on a book called Same Time Tomorrow, but I just immediately felt that this was a practice I was going to do for a long time and I was going to be really consistent about it. I just knew it kind of right away. Over time, as the pictures start piling up, I knew that I was taking a lot of pictures that are mine. I knew I was starting to develop something that was my own to some degree, and I've always thought that that's that is the project, really, just to do it every day and to end up with a lot of pictures. That's why I chose the title "Same Time Tomorrow." That's kind of the point. It's just like, well, tomorrow I'm just gonna go do it again, and that kind of repetition, that kind of ritual, that practice really was the point for me. I was never going out with a specific story to tell. It was really just about me wanting to feel a part of everything that's going on, wanting to go walk around and see what it looks like and do it every day and and just do it at the same time tomorrow.
Wow. Love it. No,
Okay.
it perfectly fits the
Yeah,
mood, like honestly.
absolutely. So, how's it feeling to recover a 100% street photography mood for this project? So, no filters, no frameworks, just pure street. How are you approaching this wild mood of the book?
I'm well, it comes naturally because that's like 99% of my archive. I always experienced photography that way. I really admire photographers who they take their camera everywhere. They take pictures of their family. They take pictures of their partners, their friends. There's never an off switch for them. They're always photographing. I love that stuff. It's so vulnerable and so real. But for some reason, I, I just don't do it. I I always experienced photography as something that kind of has an on and an off switch. And my on switch is like, okay, I'm going out to take pictures. I'm going in the city and I get my camera and I wrap it around my wrists and it's on. And then when the light goes down or whatever, I tend to not take pictures anymore. So it just comes naturally. I do want to include pictures that feel a little bit more like a diary when I can, because not every picture I take is like in the face on the sidewalk when it's really crowded. There are some, actually, there are a lot of pictures that I would take that were just quiet observations of the sidewalk, like what it looked like. And to me, those pictures feel like sort of my diary of walking around. But typically, I would never show many of those pictures because they're not as exciting or. But I'm working on finding ways to include more pictures like that to make it not just pictures that are like 1 meter from people's face for the entire book.
Yeah.
So I'm working on
No,
it.
that's very interesting. You'll be in your element 100%.
Yeah.
And I can pass it on to you now.
Yes.
The next
I
couple of
have
questions.
just one last question
Yeah.
actually to wrap it up, and then we can go into the fun part,
Mhm.
the gaming part. I wanted to ask you, New York is one of the most photographed cities in the world. Has its positive, its negative sides. New York is also not the US at the
Yeah.
same time. It's a completely different microcosm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, totally different. And but in street photography, your photos, they all look the same and they all show a side of New York that it's different. What version of New York City are you trying to showcase with the book we're doing at this moment? What is that you want to convey to the people that will see your photographs in this selection?
I like the version that feels like it's just for you. Like the version of New York that feels like just your little secret. And everybody has this because when you walk around in such a crowded place that has unlimited amounts of people and things, and it's literally unlimited, and you feel like when you notice just a little something interesting, a little emotion being displayed, it's kind of like your little secret. And for me, that is that's kind of the romance of walking around alone. Like walking around in New York alone can still be you still feel very like you're a part of something. So yeah, something like that.
I love that.
Something
No,
like
no,
that.
no. It's actually very like I resonate with it. Like I think it's great. So like you summarize it perfectly. I wasn't expecting nothing less.
Absolutely.
I guess then we can wrap it up.
Yeah.
Yes.
And see you in the fun part. So Eyeshot Unfiltered.
Okay, so welcome back again to the second part of this interview, and it's the unfiltered part.
Mhm.
So a series of games.
Yeah. So basically, for everyone who's here for the first time, the unfiltered part consists of two mini sections. Basically, we have one series of rapid fire questions, and then we have a game of this or that, an elimination game. So we will give you a list of names, and you will choose one, and the winning name carries to the next round. So it's a fun game. People usually say we torture them with that game, but
I'm ready
we're
to be
happy.
tortured.
Cool. That's
Great.
what we want to hear. So we start with the rapid fire questions. So it's
Okay.
just one each.
My first question would be 3 words to describe yourself.
Mm. Um, obsessive. This is not very rapid. Obsessive, quiet, quiet, and
What's the first thing you do when you go out shooting, aside from turning on your camera?
I feel like I just start walking.
Yeah,
What's the
cool.
first thing I do? I just start walking, and probably I'll go with walking fast. I start walking fast to get in the
I love that.
Making your way
yeah
downtown, walking fast.
yeah making my way downtown. Right.
Oh my God. It was too good.
Sorry, I was
I couldn't miss the
It's
chance.
a good reference. Okay.
Thank
oh
you.
my gosh. Sorry. It's morning here, so we're also a little bit
Yeah.
weird. Anyways, I wanted to ask you, what's the biggest mistake you've made in the streets?
It's a mistake. Um, not taking a lot of pictures because I tell myself, I've already taken that picture. I don't need to take that anymore. That's a big mistake.
Interesting.
Speaking of, have you ever deleted a picture because it looked a bit too clean for your tastes?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
What's 3 must-have for a photographer?
Okay. You must have a camera. You must have comfortable shoes, and you must have kind of I don't know, open mind, maybe. I don't know, optimistic a little bit.
Optimistic.
Cool.
Yeah.
And what's your favorite sound in a urban scene?
Oh, that's good. I'll think of New York. My favorite sound. I really like the sound of the subway arriving, like on the platform. I like I like the sound of gosh, I like the sound of the halal cart guys or the hot dog cart guys, whatever. They take their metal tongs and they drum on their carts in a rhythm, like they'll play music with their tongues to kind of get attention. I'm not going to say sirens. I don't particularly like that sound, although they are classic, but I don't love that sound. Birds, birds are underrated. Love the sound of birds. There's a lot of them in cities.
Okay. Could you rank these 3 aspects of a photograph? Subject, composition, and light. How would you rank them?
I would rank them in that order that you just said. Subject first, composition second, light third. But the caveat is they all need to work for it to really work. But if you had to rank them, yeah, I would go subject, composition.
What's your trigger to spring into action?
I mean, people moving probably. People moving and beginning to sort of organize themselves in a space. Sometimes I can just I see things opening up in the crowd. You see this person's coming and that person's coming, and it's starting to look like they're going to end up in a frame where I could take a picture. And that really springs me to go walk, like get to that point when I need to get there.
At this moment of your life, I think maybe I know the answer, but I'll try anyways. Daylight shooting or late night shooting?
Still daylight shooting for sure. Daylight shooting. I have not been shooting as much. I mean, I have a new baby son and other things, but definitely daylight. Yeah, I'm a daylight shooter.
Okay,
Cool.
perfect.
Is there something you absolutely want to avoid in street photography? So, certain palettes, certain context, anything?
I don't. Absolute is strong. I do absolutely want to avoid confrontations on the street. I'll say that. absolutely want to avoid like upsetting people on the street. And then as for the pictures, I think like yeah, I think I want to avoid pictures that are where the only thing interesting about the picture is that it's very unflattering, so that it's kind of funny. I think I'd like to avoid that.
How much does luck count in your photography from 1 to 10?
Oh, it's 7.5. I'm giving it a high. Yeah, yeah. It's up there for sure. I try to put myself in positions to get lucky a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, luck is a crazy thing for street photographers, at least. Yeah.
Absolutely. Do you have any rituals that you do, that you perform before shooting? Sort of a lucky charm thing?
Not really, but I do. Maybe I really like to look at a map of where I'm about to walk. Like I'll go on Google Maps and I like to visualize sort of the street grid of wherever I am. And I like to kind of have some idea of like where I'm walking, and when I get to there, I'm gonna turn and then I'm gonna come back. And so I kind of like to I just enjoy looking at maps in general. So yeah, maybe that's a little ritual. Kind of getting prepared to walk and where I'm gonna walk.
Yeah.
Noted. If your photography was a music genre, what would it be?
Gosh. Oh, I don't know. If it was a
It's fun
music
though.
genre. Oh gosh.
I can tell you we've heard things like reggae, punk, hardcore, rap. We've heard
Yeah.
anything. So if we can also move on if that's not something that
Yeah, it's
resonates.
some sort of I don't know. It feels so like I can't say this honestly. Maybe some sort of jazz, but I don't wanna that's a very like pretentious answer. That's
No,
I don't know.
you have your
Something
own
like
way
that.
of seeing it, so it's fair.
Okay.
Because you had the improv and stuff.
Yeah.
Right. The improv, and it's loose and it's spontaneous. So
Okay.
Okay. That's a cool answer, actually. So,
Yeah.
we're very satisfied. Same space, two stories. How do you choose one of the other if you have to choose?
oh, for sure, I would try to combine them. For sure. Like this is my favorite kind of thing to do. Like you see one person or one interaction happening and you see another one, and particularly if they're both moving, if they're both walking, I will
Yeah.
try to time it so that they will cross paths like in the frame. So I would try to combine them. That's my cop out answer.
Love it.
I
So
mean,
fun.
both is good.
If you could
Both is good.
photograph if you could photograph one subject for the rest of your life, what would it be?
Wow. Wow. I mean, people on the sidewalk. It would have to be people on the sidewalk. I kind of already doing that.
Yeah.
Fair, fair.
Is there a picture you've taken that still surprises you to this day?
Still surprises me. Like I'm
Still has
surprised that I
something to
took it.
say.
Still
Still
has
has
something.
something to say.
Uh-huh. I mean, I feel like a lot of them still have something to say to me. I don't know how surprising they are after I've seen them so much.
If street photography was a game, what would be the golden rule for you?
The golden rule for me would be to just keep walking. Uh, for the way that I do it, I typically don't like stand still at a scene and wait. I like to just keep walking. So my sort of golden rule is just keep walking further and further, and you'll eventually see something
Speaking of walking, do you usually walk faster or slower than crowds?
faster, much faster. Yeah, until I get a bit tired and I start to lose my focus, then I walk slowly. And
Yes. And final one,
Yeah.
what do you believe in?
that's a big one. That's a wide one. I believe I do believe in goodness, in the way things are, in some sort of gratitude just for the way things are. I do believe in some sort of inherent goodness in the world, I guess.
Yeah, love that. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
And with the unfiltered part, with the rapid fire questions, we're done.
Mhm.
Now the torture begins. No, I'm
Yeah.
just joking.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm ready.
And we're gonna switch to the this or that game that Marilu was introducing to you
Mhm.
before. So you have to choose, pick a name between the two. I will give you in a second. Then from there, we'll switch with the next one or whatever you
Okay.
decide to do. So the first one would be Harry Cartier-Bresson or Garry Winogrand.
Garry Winogrand.
Garry Winogrand or Vivian Meyer.
Garry Winogrand.
Garry Winogrand or Joel Meyerowitz.
Winogrand.
Winogrand, okay. Garry Winogrand or Harry Grullard.
Winogrand.
Okay. Garry Winogrand or Diane Arbus.
Winogrand.
Okay. Winogrand or Alex Webb.
Winogrand.
Wow. Winogrand, not because of anything, I was just one. Winogrand or Martin Parr.
Winogrand. Still going.
I guess that we have a winner.
Oh,
because
yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
any names left. So no, I'm just joking. So I guess we have a winner for this section,
Mhm.
and it's Garry Winogrand, which
Yeah.
is
He's kind of the patron saint of most Eyeshot authors because he's always
Yeah.
somewhere
always
in our
mentioned.
discussion.
Yeah.
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 He's
I know.
lurking.
He's
I know.
lurking, yeah.
Yeah,
With
he's a
his
presence.
tilted camera.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, Aaron, this was the last game. We hope you had fun as much as we did, and we hope we made you feel
Yes.
comfortable and free to share all
Yes.
your answers. So,
Yes.
thank you again for being with us and for
Thank
having
you,
the
guys.
patience to talk to us.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you,
Thank
guys.
you, Aaron. Thank you for being with us. And a final message to our viewers to, of course, thank you for watching and keep liking, keep subscribing, keep commenting, because when you support us, you support independent street photography, independent art, and made in Italy arts and craftsmanship. And what's just one small click to you means the world for us. Thank you, Aaron, for playing. And thank you, everybody, for being with us this episode of our interview. So see you next time, and bye.